All right, I think we're ready. Waiting for Jess to show up here. This is a last minute deal. Listen, Jess tells me to do something, I do it. Those are the rules. I also want to start by meowing the national anthem. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. That's enough. We got to keep this steep slopes steep. Keep steep slopes steep. I'll just start talking about that until Jess shows up. Navel gazing. Let's start off with navel gazing. The TLC, this little corner of the internet, is a very steep slope to get involved in because it's another topic I'm very interested in. Communities and boundaries and steep slope and how much of it is necessary versus unnecessary. Like, are there certain communities that are unnecessarily, you can add yourself anytime there, handsome. Are there certain communities that are unnecessarily hard to get into? Or is a certain kind of intimacy and proper knowing just hard? You know, it's just, that's kind of what the steep slope is like, wow, I would love to plug myself into this community, but the language, the knowledge base, the relationship, like it's chaotic. It's not linear. I can't just follow what's going on. And this is actually related, Jess, to the conversation we want to talk about, the Jim Rutt conversation, because at one point, one of the things that they talk about in that conversation, by the way, this conversation, for some reason, my YouTube comments are always difficult. There are certain comments I've tried to comment, I bet 10 different comments on this video that it just like won't let me comment. I think it happened repeatedly multiple times this morning. And so I've just started saving them, the comments I want to make, in a separate Google Doc, so I can just go back. Even if I go to Google, like my activity, my YouTube comments, they're not in there. It's like I'm commenting into the ether. They don't exist. I don't get it. But one of the things is they talk about in there, let me see if I can pull it up and if I talk about it, because it's like they talk about triangles. They talk about Forrest Landry, who I don't even know who that is. It's the section where he's talking about like the IQ range of 115 to 145, and it's like smart adolescents that are like 115 that think that we can just play the section and then riff on it. But the point is, and about steep slopes and proper knowing, is if you're trying to understand things in a linear, mechanistic way, I would argue that using my own vernacular, that is egoic knowing or mammonistic knowing. It's not actually, I would say all proper knowing is steep slope and difficult and hard and requires sacrifice. That's probably a tag on I would add on to like mediation as reality. It's also, well, maybe difficult isn't the right word, but involves agapic co-suffering, perhaps. Also mourning.
Good morning.
All right, let me see. So what I did is we can play some of this, but I just like left my comments up.
Yeah, that's probably a great place to start.
So here Jordan says the mediation is the reality, not the transcendence, and where they're talking about Father Stephen DeYoung. This is a so am I driving? Scott sent me this section, or I think his tag was like 22 I don't know, a few days ago. That was my first exposure to the conversation because he was like, you should talk about this. So we could go there. How about you pick? All right.
Well, I don't even know what to talk about because, like I told you, that like I love this conversation, but I can't like necessarily like remember any of it.
Well,
at this moment, at least, there's all this other stuff happening in life, but I wanted to talk about it. But I was like, hey, let's just listen to the conversation and let's comment on it, like Mystery Science Theater 3000 or something.
Yeah, no, it's the same for me because we're like I was telling you, this is also where hierarchies work because I was just saying a few days ago, this next month I'm gonna keep my TLC participation pretty light because it's just because I have to, or else I'm gonna like it's almost like I've used this term before, but I think about it as like my psychological or emotional wick. And there are just certain times where the practical aspects of life are just so ramped up that wick is like burned down to the nub. And I know through previous experience, like if I try to add on a lot of like extra thinky talky or online relational stuff to the rest of that's going on in my life, there are a number of things that can happen and none of them are wanted. And so I have to just keep that to a minimum. But this is like TLC hierarchies. You're at the top. You're at the Illuminati eye. You tell me I want to talk to you about this thing, and I'm just like,
let's go.
To hell with the wick.
We're burning this wick to the ground.
We're gonna burn it down. We're gonna burn the candle into the sand, the wax on the candle altars at the Orthodox Church. We're just burn it down into the wax.
Into the sand.
All right, let's go to one of the PBK was here, and he also made a comment. The TLC is here somewhere. There it is. The TLC is here. Are we not? I'm not showing anyone this. I'm just talking to myself like an idiot. The TLC is here. Let's start here because this was one of the first points that I thought was interesting. It'd be nice if YouTube, sometimes they do this, if YouTube allowed you to just, when I go into the comments or like when I'm looking at it, just show me all my comments. because I really do use the comments as a reference point for my own studies. It's like in a book, when you put your own tags.
Yeah.
It's like that for me. And I'm like, I'm going back and I'm interested in maybe the notes other people have made in the book, like things that people have scribbled into the margins that other people have written. Like, that's interesting to me. You know what's more interesting to me? What I thought about the book. All right, let's go. Let me see. Let me do this.
I'll use.
Okay, this is the Forrest Landry distinction between existence. I think between existence and being, which I don't really like. I didn't like on first blush, but also Jordan Hall is saying he probably is way to the right of like 140 IQ. So maybe I should just slow my roll.
Yeah, I feel like whatever range he was talking about, the smart, dumb people, that's me. I'm like, right. I think I'm somewhere there.
Well, it's the midwit meme.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what he was saying in there is something that I agree with. It's what I talk about. He's saying that like there's a certain kind of person within this IQ range that a lot of it's map and territory stuff. They think that reality is equivalent to their abstracted ideas about reality. And it's not. It's just not. But also simultaneously, that doesn't mean, I don't think that means that you have that you don't have access to reality because that is what you're experiencing. It's just your thoughts can often be separate from that, I think is the point. Which is what realism is like you're interacting with reality. I mean, what else what else is there?
Yeah.
Which is why then they'll talk about simulation stuff, which is because I tweeted or X post a while ago about how that's always been an annoyance to me a little bit about simulation theory or simulation stuff, because it's essentially like a model that's made up by the smart, dumb people that's based in computers and philosophical materialism. And they want to say like, oh, well, we live in a simulation and it's like this emergent only understanding of reality. And I'm like, no, 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 dummies. Simulations have simulation creators. Like that's the whole point, unless you want to just say that that's, and then they get into nothing. The like the Western idea of Father DeYoung says is like that we think we are nothing and reality is nothing, and it's the Big Bang, or it's almost like that Pete Holmes short,
Yeah.
you know, about like God is the no thing into which you collapse.
That's one magical nothing.
Right. Which is like but that is kind of the smart, dumb thing. It's just like if you can zoom outside of that, like smart middle school atheist, like it's the thing behind the thing, which is mediation. Reality is mediation. So that's a lot of what he's talking about.
Well, one thing I really liked about this Jordan Hall conversation, I wonder how you would describe it, because I think that like when he thinks about things, and then when he just like, I feel like he's trusting more in his intuition rather than like some sort of mental model.
Yeah,
he has a lot of mental models that he can like kind of go between.
Yes,
but I feel like he's never married to one, and so every question he first, like, I get the sense that he's reflecting on his own intuition, how like an intuitive or imaginative or just whatever that is, and then he answers from there, and he gives all kinds of like what's up, Chad?
Now keep going.
I really like that, but I feel like you do that too. Like you rely on your intuition, but I mean, you have all sorts of models that you use and that you repeat, and that like things that you're trying to get across. But one thing that benefited me about being in conversation with you over the years is just your insistence on that. Like when you say personalist knowing, like you insist on it to the point, like where like I had to, I really had to consider it more than just like some sort of model of reality.
I'm like, no, Jess, no, like I will. Yeah, it's a actually, interestingly, Jordan talks about that in here, where it's they talk about confidence versus certainty. And there's a section in there because
he says I'm confident of it, but I'm not certain.
At one point where he's talking about something, yeah. But there are certain things. What it reminded me of is that Jung clip of like if he believes in God, and he said, "I don't believe, I know."
Yeah.
Which I think what he's saying there is belief as ideas. He's just like, no, it's more fundamental than that. He's just
it's
like,
much more fundamental.
It is. And it's something they're talking about in here, which is a lot of what they're talking about, I think, is what I had deemed a long time ago, which is one of those seeds. And then I've heard people talk about it later. Like Annie Crawford uses this term all the time, which is just like incarnational knowing or incarnational epistemology. Like that's what they're talking about. It's not the God of the philosophers, the like abstracted thing. It's just like, no, like your life, your experience, like all of this is real. Like the embodied thing is real. Or this came up in actually I popped on just a little bit to the Woo stream, Ron's Woo stream last night, and Grimm was in there, and we were talking about the difference between thinking a thought, or Grimm was talking about like God being able to read your mind. And he was saying he thinks there's something that's more real, and Ezra was in the comments and related, and he said it's more incarnational, which I agree. Like when you speak something, because Grimm had riffed on something saying like, either we are images of gods, like gods in process, or gods becoming, something like that, or we are this clay, it's a clay vessel holding God's breath, which I think is a beautiful kind of poetic image of Genesis. But then Grimm was saying something of like speaking there's something about speaking that is it encapsulated. I almost think of realness as a spectrum. Everything is real. Like even a thought is real. If a thought is happening, it's being, but there's something about speaking it which makes it more real, because it's like this magic, the magic musical instrument and vocal cords that we have. It's God's breath, audible and vibrating and physical. The fullness of that reality, of that spoken word, of that potential almost has become actual. And there's something to it that like it really does have a magical power, which is why I think the Bible from front to back talks about the power of words and the importance of controlling your tongue and all of that stuff. But
yeah, well, it gets to kind of what they were talking about, is the mediation is the interaction, is the reality.
yeah,
which I like that a lot.
Should we play some of this?
Yeah, let's just get into it, I guess.
Okay, this is the Forrest Landry part where I think right after triangles or whatever. Let me see. Also, before, when I just like removed. So like I removed from the stage the video when it's just Jordan like that, and then I looked down and I was like, wait, is Jordan Hall like waiting to be added to
Jordan Hall is joining us live here on the stream. Thanks for joining us, Jordan. What do you have to say?
Yeah, PVK, I don't know either. Like I thought there was gonna be, yeah, I figured there'd be a bunch more people already in the hive mind, but like,
see, we've thrown everyone off. Normally it's the Luke monologue with the.
Yeah, that's the thing. Listen, that's what brings all the boys to the yard.
We're so unpredictable around here. This is crazy.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. Do you remember that song?
Yeah. I used to
see, like, this is a cultural reference. This is a cultural reference our Zoomer friends will not understand. All right. Let's get into this and just tell me whenever you want me to stop it. This is the Forrest Landry distinction, I believe. Let's make it biggie. Here we go. Let me see. Tell me if the audio's good.
Forrest Landry's distinction, actually. He makes that nice distinction between being and existence. And so there are things that exist. And the point is, things that exist, I can trace the causal chain until I find the moment where they went from not existing to existing. And there are things that just are. And the point is, with them, the notion of causation enters into a very different relationship. We can always point to examples of the fact that they are. And as you said, anytime I've got 3 points, I notice, right? But the noticing, it makes the question of, did I discover it? Did I create it? Makes that fuzzy.
Okay, I gotta stop already. It's like there are
things that exist and things that just are, and the things that just are have a being that the causality is different than the things that exist.
Yeah, but I'm just
trying to repeat.
Yeah. And part of this is why I think I want to be open in general. This is back to what you were saying, this like strong, the thing that you apparently like, but I think also annoys people, is like my passionate insistence on certain things, intuitive insistence on things. But like that distinction I don't like between existence and being, because at least in Jordan's explaining of it, it's just like you can trace this mechanistic causal pattern, but like there's all sorts of problems with that. And listen, I'm not familiar with Forrest Landry, but number one, I hate the understanding. I hate thinking that you can understand things, the epistemology of understanding through mechanistic causation, because it's not. I think that's it's a very like scientific, diminished understanding. It isn't that whole package intuitive thing. Like Daniel O.G. Rose talks about this, and I've spoken about this with McMo. It's the difference between algebraic understanding and geometric understanding. And that's kind of what the triangle thing is. Like a triangle is whole and complete, not lacking in anything. And yes, it has parts, and you can, through your discursive reasoning and abstract away, you can see the parts. But to see a triangle is to see the wholeness. It's to see the cup. It's the same thing that Peugeot was talking about with a cup. Yes, can you abstractly break apart the parts and think about it that way. But when you see the cup phenomenologically, when you experience the cup, you see it as one. You see it wholly. You don't you're in the being mode. You're not in this mechanistic mode of constructing it and then seeing it, because the second that you start doing that and thinking you're in reality, you are fundamentally not in reality.
Mm-hmm.
You're in abstract mode, which is fine. That's a capacity God has given you. Like, it's fine, but that's not, you are divorced from the experience itself. It reminds me of so the two assumptions, this is why I have to monologue, I guess, because I talk too much. But like, Rogan's getting into this stuff, by the way. His last podcast, he spoke with, I will pull it up just to show it, because I was gonna, and I'll put it in the thing later, but no, it's not his last one now, because he puts things out. But he has, because he had Gad Zod on, or whatever that guy's name is. But his most recent one, this Julia Mossberg lady. Let me, here, I'm going to switch this. Can I? Oh, I got to stop sharing and share something else. So this lady, this Julia Mossberg, this gal, she's a scientist, but she's like a Rupert Sheldrake, telepathy, remote viewing, very wooey, very intuitive type scientist, because this is the problem with the mechanistic model. A couple quotes. The first one is my Indy Wilson quote, which I love, which is like, probabilities are the prophets of a mechanical God. Like, that's why if you try to understand things through probabilities and models and mechanism, you're fundamentally never going to get there. We've talked about the problem of seeing forever, because like, if you mechanistically are trying to construct a cup in your head, like if you think about these metaphysical ideas of God, and you're trying to construct it through like the handle, the base, all these different parts, you will never actually see the cup. You will only ever be able to see a model. Faith and it, like intuitive faith, or what is somehow that step that is beyond anything that you could ever possibly model fully. Like, seeing the cup is too big. It's too much. It's infinite.
Yeah, but what if you want to make a cup? If you want to make a cup, kind of seeing the cup is important beforehand, because you have to guide yourself in some way towards the creation of it. So you have to picture it, and then so you have to have all those things in mind. The way that it's going to hold, it's got to have a place for the water to be in. It's got to have a handle or whatever. It's going to.
Yep.
So like I get what you mean. Like there's a way of seeing the cup, and then like not seeing it by just imagining the mental model and not having the experience of it. But then there's also if we're involved in creating the cup, then the imagining it is important. And if we're going to be co-creators, I guess that would be part of the co-creation. So, I mean, this would be like the difference between beholding the cup and then making a cup.
Right. And so what your thing helped me to think of this. So like, modeling it, yes, to some degree, but I almost think of this as the difference between art and identical replication. So like this cup, this like whatever, made in China, whatever kind of cup, this is very structured, modeled, mechanistic. There's assembly lines, I'm sure, like they have it down to a whatever. This cup, this like broken, you probably can't even see it, but like there's a stamp, hand casted, made locally, a local coffee shop that I like in Minneapolis. Works of art, yeah, you have to like model and think about things, but it's also like, or I think about like those stone sculptures with the veils that look like they're live and fluid. Like you can see the veil, but you can still see the face through it. That kind of thing, you're modeling and you're thinking, but you're slowly working in a very relational way with the stone. Like artists will even talk about that. Like you're working with the stone to see what's even possible and what you can reveal. This thing is like, this thing has degrees of that. I mean, I think of it in a spectrum. Like there's some art in this, like anything that exists. And maybe this is the existence being distinction. Maybe like
yeah, well, I mean, I'm kind of I'm sympathetic to the, like, I have a little stainless steel cup. Like this is pressed from machinery. Like that's the only way to make that is you have like big hydraulic presses, and then it's got a plastic lid, and this is, you know, this is cast within a die, you know, with high pressure plastic heated up in it. But the setting up of all that assembly process is very much like it's an engineering problem, but it's like there's creativity involved where you have an output model that you're trying to achieve. So this is like imagining the abstract thing. You need to create this vessel. And so then you bring all this different technologies to be in alignment to then output this. And there is something like, I find it kind of beautiful. and like, you know, like, I always think about this because there was someone talking about vintage t-shirts, like from like bands and stuff in the 70s and 80s, you know, screen printed shirts. They printed off 100,000 of them or whatever for Led Zeppelin, or who knows, like, or even 1 million of them. But the thing is like the setting up of all the screens and stuff enabled this sort of mechanistic reproduction. But after all those screens are destroyed, like those screens don't exist anymore. You, like that t-shirt, like you can then go back and like try to redesign the t-shirt or whatever, but that t-shirt doesn't exist. Like you can't reproduce it anymore. Like there was a production run with that tooling, and then it's over. And
well, like, that's like the non-fungible thing. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make, is like true art. Like I'm not denying that there's a spectrum. Like this is where, like, okay, TLC people, when I speak against like propositionalism or scientism or like art versus machine or whatever, I'm not saying there's like no artistry in this, but like there's a big difference between like, why do we, this is all stuff that we know intuitively too. Just like, don't get bogged down in the details. Like there's a difference between a print and like an original work of art. Like those are different things.
Yeah.
Like why do we have counterfeit and real are real? Is there no art in counterfeit? Of course there is, but it's different. Like the idea, this is what I'd say, like the clearest way to say it is like a cup, like even a ceramic cup or something. Like the first, this is Rupert Sheldrake too. It's almost like morphic fields of, is like the first time something comes into being. That is pure art. Like that is the non-fungibility thing. Like you cannot like recreate that. You can manufacture it, which that manufacturing is going to have a degree of artistry in it, but it's not the same thing as the non-fungible original creation.
Yeah, but I isn't this like God God does the original creation. Like all we can do is sort of our creation is more drawing from, pulling together, consolidating, distilling. Like our artwork is never wholly like completely well, just original out of nothing. Like it's always drawing on something from the past. Like even a new technology or a new thing is always inspired by something. They stumbled upon it, they discovered it, whatever, it doesn't come.
Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those topics that I've changed on because of kind of I don't know. I've gone into an agnostic space on because of, I don't really know why, but like us are creating being different than God's. In one sense it is, because he's God and there is no other. But on the other hand, and I don't know if this is why, maybe because he's talking about diamonds, of like lab diamonds versus grown, but like the creation, like creation ex nihilo. I mean, number one, I don't know if that's I think I've talked to my priest about this. I don't know if this is like I don't know the origins of that belief, like creation out of nothing, because there's that whole idea in Genesis of like the tohu abohu, of like, essentially that's what it is. It's just like, you can think of it as like order and chaos. Like there were a bunch of like in the dark, in the shadow, in the unknown, or like I've heard Jordan Peterson said, is there's no such thing as like true pure chaos. It's just pre-ordered. It's just something where you can't see the pattern. You can't see the whole. It's just like before this cup came into being, it was chaos. It was tohu abohu. And then someone took it and put all those things together and made it into something that was ordered and created. Human beings do that. Like there's nothing, whatever God created out of, whatever that is, like is matter or the substance or whatever he used to create. Did that come out of nothing? Well, then this is the hard thing about nothing. Then it's a generative nothing.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, like I kind of am sympathetic to the idea that this is God giving of himself.
Yeah.
He gives of it. Like imagine the infinite God then giving him part of himself that becomes, well, all of creation and becomes us. And, and that he, in some ways we're grounded in him, but in some ways also we're distinct from him. Like that's a gift to us. And then yeah. So, but we were talking about this in book club because we're reading through Dante's comedy, and we ran across in Purgatorio. He mentions, like, he's talking about the families in Italy because they're talking to someone in purgatory, and they're like talking about the infighting of the families of Florence that is causing the social strife, and it literally mentions the Capulets and the Montagues, and we're like, we're like, what? Like, and we had to look up dates. We're like, Shakespeare was after Dante, right?
Yeah.
It was like, yes, he's clearly after. And then we looked it up so sure enough, Shakespeare borrowed it actually from another poet who actually borrowed it from Dante. And Dante, the Montagues and the Capulets were actually famous feuding families. They kind of went by different spellings, and as it got translated, translated to Montagues and Capulets. But like, then we got into the whole conversation of like, Shakespeare, was Shakespeare just ripping this off, and was he a hack? You hear stuff like that. No, he was drawing like from all kinds of stuff, and even that's what Dante was doing. He wasn't he wasn't inventing anything out of whole cloth.
Right.
He was drawing from all kinds of traditions, and sort of with a lot of these literary epics, they're not inventing anything necessarily new, but they're drawing everything together, maybe distilling things, and then delivering it. And it, it's kind of what I think Peugeot and Richard Rowland hope to do with their universal history, or that's what universal history is doing, is like drawing things together. And that's probably important in times where socially and whatever the world feels a little scattered. So it's important to have someone with, some chops be able to come along and like grab a bunch of stuff and pull it together. And like people love that. And so it's that pulling together that's the creative aspect. So for the cup, it's like gathering the right kind of clay, and then building it in the right way for to make a vessel for a specific purpose that maybe has
oh yeah, so all that's really good. I mean, some thoughts that I had when you were talking about that is like, that's the whole no man is an island. Like you can't, the Shakespeare thing or whatever is like, of course he's pulling from other stories and history and his life. Like, I mean, you can't create out of nothing. Like, you can't do that. And one of the other thoughts that I had that I think is related, I think I can weave it together of related to all these topics is, to your point of like, we need someone who is in times of chaos, you need someone that's rooted. So there's a few things like if you're like in an apocalypse and if everything was just like wiped out, let's even think about the Great Pyramids and like, how Rogan is so obsessed with the pyramids and that technology and how did they build it and what was going on. Well, what happened is like something happened where everything was so wiped out where we're like, we do not have a mediation, a bridge to them to have we can't even imagine. We're so disconnected from them. It's like, let's just say their pyramid was like a cup or an iPhone or anything. You could pick anything, but like things were destroyed and severed to such a degree that it's just like, we can no longer imagine how to make a cup. But like, so this is the thing is like two things. You need people that are connected enough socially and historically to what has come before, like with Shakespeare and the Capulets and the Montagues. Like if nobody remembered the Capulets and the Montagues, you don't get Romeo and Juliet. Like, this is why remembering, like, memory is the purveyor of reason. That's why I like that quote from Samuel Johnson so much, is like, you can't even, objectivists, AI people who just think in terms of quantity, that don't understand that theology is the mother of the sciences. Like, this is why this is important. This isn't something that's new that Jordan Hall just fucking created. Like, people have said this forever. It's like, if you don't have an embedded religious historical understanding related to your knowledge, you can't remember anything. It's standing nowhere. It's disconnected from all its inheritors. It's standing on the shoulders of giants that it doesn't acknowledge, and it will forget. You're trying to have reason without memory, and memory's embodied. It's not abstract. Like, the objectivists want it to be abstract. The reason that people think AI is intelligent is because they have forgotten what knowledge is.
I mean, I even think of like my own reasons for wanting to do like I'm reading King Arthur stuff now. I'm like reading Dante, and I've been eating up all the stuff that the mythology and stuff that we've been talking about for years. But like part of the reason is because like you're talking about, like, as modern people, we're even separated generation to generation. Like, I don't participate in the same things my grandfather participated in. Like, his experience growing up was very different than my dad's. My dad's and I was very different growing up. And so there's this disconnect of memory because, so like, just to be very kind of just dumb, like, something really important to me when I was a kid was Looney Tunes. Like, I watched Looney Tunes and read Calvin and Hobbes, and like these were really important to me. And like my kids, like, they kind of read some of the Calvin and Hobbes books every now and then because they're good. But like, they don't have that connection, and they don't have that connection to Looney Tunes. And so there is this sort of disconnect between my memory of what it was to grow up. Whereas in, like, maybe this is just like it's putting on rose-colored glasses about traditional societies, but in traditional societies, everyone would have a similar growing up experience, and your father would raise you like he was raised, and you kind of have this continuation, and maybe some of maybe some of it's like not as explicit as I would hope. Like, I imagine, like, I was thinking about my grandfather, and one thing that he really didn't like was imposing on anyone. And so we talked about this before. Like, my grandparents didn't have a funeral. They barely had a memorial service. And like, what is that? And like, one of the main reasons was like, they didn't want to impose on anyone. This is like a value of theirs. And even, my dad, even though, he's in the ministry and stuff, he doesn't have an imposing character about him. He's very passionate. He's very, like, sort of, he wants people to understand and know God, but he's never that imposing evangelistic character at all. Like that would be, and then I think he's passed that down. So some of this stuff is like, maybe that is something that got passed down to me, that is part of my family or whatever. This, and I was talking to my dad about this, about my grandpa, because I asked him if I was remembering correctly the story where he went to the nursing home to my grandpa, and my grandpa's like 99 or 100 at this point, and my grandpa was like crying because he was sorry he inconvenienced my dad having to drive out there to see him. and,
I'm sorry I inconvenienced you with my imminent death.
I know, but this is what, and so I asked him about it, and my dad was like, yeah, you remember that, right? And then I said, like, it's like he didn't want to impose on anyone. He's like, and my dad was like, he said it was a humility. He had humility. And I guess that's like a positive way to, not imposing is a little bit, but my dad really wanted to like turn it to this positive. He's like, your grandpa was a humble man. So like, anyway, so maybe I'm passing that down to my children or whatever. Like maybe that's what gets passed down, and not these sort of more superficial things like Looney Tunes and Calvin.
Well, I mean, they'll get some of that. What's hard is like you just can't get away from it. Like I love that your dad has a positive sentiment on it, and it is like that's the star manning, I suppose, where you're seeing, because everything's a gift if you receive it as a gift. Like that's why.
Right. Yeah.
But yet he's in not wanting to impose. You can't help, like if that's the medium in which you parent, right? You're going to then therefore indirectly impose that on your children. Yeah.
that was cracking me up.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? You will impose, because obviously that's been your family heritage. Your dad was that way. You're that way to some degree. You don't want to impose. But the problem is like, what if you want to be imposed upon? What if it's just like, okay, yeah, like the most non-imposing thing, like my dad has talked about that, it would be like, he's like, because my dad's, he can be that way somewhat. My parents had their own ways of imposing, which I've talked about before. But in certain ways, my dad's like, when I'm going to die, and he's just like, if I get old and useless, he's just like, Western South Dakota. He's just like, just turn me out in the middle of winter and I'll go out on the hill and the coyotes can eat me, and I'm just like, what if, but what if that isn't this? And this is the whole Christo logic. What if that is an imposition? What if I want to be with you in my death? What if I don't want you to die alone?
Yeah.
And you're not wanting to impose upon me. You're imposing upon me.
Yeah.
So like you can't, to some degree, you can't get away from those things. But also I find it interesting that like we're like 45 minutes in. Like we're not going to fucking talk about Jordan Hall and Jim Rutt like a little bit.
I mean, this is along the lines of what they're talking about, but
part of it is like also, listen, this
cares?
is a creative, right? And this is a creative space. We're not just parasiting on their conversation. Like, are we interested in it? But like I've said that forever. Like I don't.
We should just bring up his picture for the thumbnail.
Get
the clicks.
Yeah, let's do that. Just see, there he is. He's there.
Hey, it's like he's here with us. Hey, Jordan, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Jordan, thank you. Thanks for coming. Do you have anything to say?
And I don't consider that to be throwaway. I consider it to be curious. So
yeah, I do too. That's so great. That's so curious. It's because here's something too. Circling back to the steep slope of TLC and more navel gazing. Do you remember when Bethel McGrew? Bethel, we see you. We hear you.
Do you think she's watching? Listening?
No, she's not watching, because this is something where Bethel and I have always been different. Bethel wants to climb the corporate ladder of intellectual elitism.
Academic ladder.
Yeah, she wants to be, you know, what I want to talk about to bring her up is she somewhere early on in the early days of TLC, probably, you know, before TLC was codified, maybe, the Jordan Peterson sphere days, she gave that image of saying like she was hearing these conversations of like Jordan talking to someone, and she felt like a kid outside a candy store just looking in who couldn't like participate. She wanted to participate in the conversation, you know, whatever, break the fourth wall. She's like, I want to talk to Jordan Peterson. I want to talk to all these interesting whatever people. It's kind of like, you know, I want to talk to Jim Rutt and Jordan Hall. Here's where I think that like, and again, centers and peripheries, there are fringes, but where I think the true TLC is the people who are obviously influenced by the Jim Rutts, the Jonathan Pageaus, the Jordan Petersons, the whatever, but it's the people who like, no. And I truly believe this. Like, I'm not bullshitting. And I don't even know that it's virtuous, but truly for me, if I had the choice of just being able to talk to like Jordan Peterson, Jordan Hall, Jonathan Pageau, whatever, Donald Trump, pick your big name elite person. This to me is truly the participatory step between an act as if objectivism, because like when you, all those people in academia and that have names and accreditation and they're smart, and I truly believe the people that are most interested in talking to them are living in the abstract world, God of the philosophers, versus an incarnational world. This is why I'm so emphatic about the personalist knowing. The people who really believe this shit are the ones that are wanting to talk. Like, I want to talk to you because like I can get nothing from you that's transactional other than our relationship and like love and mutual like I thou shit. It's
and
not
I Venmo you money, so when I
can. Yeah, for sure. And my wife, that's my joke all the time. My wife is always sending my friends money so that they will listen to me.
I got my monthly
please,
payment.
God, can I outsource this to someone? Because he just starts talking and my eyes glaze over and he won't shut up.
I sign up for a monthly block and then.
Yes, and I think this is partially so. Like Rogan to me is a hybrid of incarnational personalist knowing, like TLC stuff, because he really doesn't give a shit about what's popular and whether people are interested in, and leveraging his conversations for like something, because he didn't get to where he's at by doing that. And he's like, and so I'm not going to change to do that now. He's just like, I've always followed what I'm interested in. I talk to who I want to talk to. And that's become popular. I actually think personalist knowledge, this is going to become, because people started saying that. Like, we just want to hear people's stories. We want to hear the house they grew up in. We want to know about them. But like, I don't know. Can you commodify personalist knowing, Jess?
Can you commodify it? No.
Yeah.
It ruins it.
But do you think people will try? Like, now that that's become, because you see that now. Like, I can't remember. I feel like there's been 3 or 4.
How are people commodifying? Like,
well, I don't know that they are yet, but I'm just saying I think that knowing people's stories, like TLC randos type shit, is becoming. I think people are starting to see its true value a little bit. But then what always happens? This is probably okay. This is that Rene Girard mimetic flip thing that we've talked about before. Once you see the usefulness of something like sacrifice, then it becomes, once you see Christ and the shadow's there, Christ emerges, Christ steps into the sun, boom, there's the shadow. Instantaneous. So you see sacrifice, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, I can use sacrifice as a way to appease God.
Yeah, I can game the.
No. And that's the God and mammon, Christ and Antichrist flip. So now that like, knowing people's stories, you know, going into their non-fungible identity is becoming in vogue. How are people going to try to capitalize on that? Because we are. I mean, welcome to capitalism. We want to make money off of people's stories, you know?
Yeah, I mean, well, this might be. I mean, there's kind of this limit.
Sure.
To I mean, you can only have so many close friends, and you only have so much time, and sometimes, a lot of what we're doing.
Steep slope.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we're doing is not necessarily like every time brain busting or whatever, but it just is a space to think, and I think that's what the estuary stuff is trying to do, is just keep spaces open or available, or teach or train people in order to provide spaces so that these things can happen. And it's not scalable on, you don't get rich doing any of it, because it's a people business. I say business. It's like, it's just talking with someone, and there's no way to systematize it or I guess there's practices that make it, so like, I don't want to talk to anyone just going off on political rants. Like, I don't have time to just sort through endless hours of Protestant versus Orthodox debate, even though that's what I've been listening to lately.
I can't. Okay.
The show was on that channel, and I was like, and he was like commending him. He's like, it's good to see everyone coming together, and all these ortho bros, and like, I mean, I don't even know what to think about some of that stuff.
Yeah, let's transition to talking about that, because I do want to talk to you about it, because I know you've been watching some of that stuff, and
it's rough because the Orthodox have good answers for everything, and the Protestants' theology, like especially evangelical theology, goes about this deep, and then as soon as you like hit this other level, the Orthodox, like, they shift into another gear, and they're like rolling, and there's no good Protestant person like able
Gavin
to.
Ortland?
Huh?
Gavin Ortland?
I don't know, man.
No, I really don't think there is. It's like, I'm trying to think of who would be the best. Like, whether like, this is this is a little bit of the issue. There have been like really great Orthodox theologians, but even a lot of those, like, I'm trying to think like Tillich or what, but a lot of those are Lutheran. I'm trying to think of like, it kind of is. Think of the best, like, big box, big Eva, evangelical, non-denominational, disconnect, like, as far as you can get disconnected from historic tradition and practice and liturgy.
Yeah.
Think of the best theologian. Who's that? I don't know.
Like a Tim Keller. But even he's not like necessarily a theologian. He's a good teacher
but he's Presbyterian, which is further up
even
the
Calvinist
tree. But you know what I mean? He's much closer, like a Tim Keller Presbyterian is much closer to Lutheranism, which is closer to Catholicism, which is closer to like the original.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't like big box evangelical.
Right.
But like, I mean, I went to his church in New York when I lived there.
Oh yeah.
It was like I mean, first of all, it was really good, but it was like a whole different experience. Like, but it was a huge crowd. It was thousands, and it just there to hear him talk. I mean, the worship wasn't band. It wasn't guitars and drums. It was jazz band singing. Like, these were like professional New York musicians playing like their own arrangements of different hymns.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know what, but it was
we're not messing around.
No, it wasn't messing around at all. And it was really good. And trying to compare that to the mega church down in Arkansas is a little bit kind of like, it's not the same. It's not the same audience. It's not the same culture. It's something different. And there's something that the big church in Arkansas is doing that I don't know. I mean, yeah, I mean, just that so much of, especially evangelical Protestantism inherited a tradition that jettisoned all the traditions, is unfortunate. And I think we, like, for me, just being, evangelical and part of the church I'm a part of, like I have to go back to this stuff in order to like ground my faith, because like, well, even when I was talking about Looney Tunes and Calvin, like the experience I had in church and my growing up experience, my faith experience, it is different than my sons. Like we're not even singing the same songs. And like, you know, I kind of feel some remorse about how like we kicked against, you know, we got to have contemporary services, and moving from hymns to choruses to contemporary worship or whatever, like that was like kind of a bad move.
The problem with that I just thought of is like back to the incarnational thing with the if you want to have contemporary services, you know, you can think of this in any term. It's like Vatican II or whatever. Like there's some degree where there's wisdom in that, where like you want to apply it to the times, but like the more contemporary it gets, like if you're always contemporary, then you have no incarnated liturgical memory with your inheritance because it's always new. And so your point is like your son isn't singing the same songs that you sang. My kids sure as shit will be singing the same songs. Like I see it.
They've been doing it for 1,000 years.
Right. Because like that is something like, because we're still in the Paschal season right now. So like there's a special, so like the hymn to the Theotokos is a song that's sung in every liturgy. It's a hugely well-known song, hymn of orthodoxy. But like during certain seasons, you do variants on it. So like in the Paschal season, there's a Paschal hymn to the Theotokos that you sing, and it's totally new and unique. And for a lot of people, it's like their favorite song, or it's like one of their favorite songs. So you see everyone when it comes up in every liturgy, and then in the Paschal season up to the Ascension, you know, or like Pentecost, whatever. You sing that song from the eve of Pascha all the way to that. So like for the 40 days, you're singing that at every service, that version of the song, and you only sing it then. So it's like a seasonal thing.
Yeah.
So it's like a linear, like we've sang it forever and we do it every year. So it's like a spiral thing. But like you see all these kids. Like last week in church, I was watching this. So there's like I felt pre-tears coming already, but like there's a family.
Luke's gonna cry.
There's a family at our church whose dad and grandfather really unexpectedly passed away. Like because he was a healthy dude. He was like on a treadmill and just like fell. And and he was just gone. And it was shocking. It was like shocking to everyone. It was a really big funeral. It's actually the only it's like my first process that I've gone to. And a lot of it was like the most moving times for me for this Paschal season. Because like this Paschal season and this Lent, we're not I've just been overwhelmed with life. It's funny how God works. And like wasn't really doing the fast, wasn't really going to the services. And then like on the eve, so I'm giving all the context for this family. On the eve of the service, like we went as a family to like the Good Friday service, essentially, Orthodoxy. And the priest came out, because you do processions where the priest comes out, he's like carrying the cross, and you put the cross in. There's like all this, it's like full on theater, kayfabe, like you're doing this stuff. And I, you know, I'm there trying to participate, and I just see one of this guy's daughters like sit in front of me, their family sit in front of me, and I just see her like all of it. She's just seeing her father in all of it. And she can't, and it's her first Lent and Pascha. And this is something I see a lot. I mean, it's not unique to the Orthodox Church, but like we go to church so much. And for people whose faith is really serious to them, who are at church all the time, like this was a family that's there all the time. And so then all of a sudden when they're going to church and their dad's not there anymore, who's there every time, like it hits in a way that like you can't manufacture that. And And then I see her like weeping, and so I'm weeping, and then this last Sunday, I see her kids, this daughter's kids, who the dad was always like, he always stood at the front with his grandsons, and he would like corral them and stand there. He was always at this point, and you'd see him up there every time, every Sunday, and he's just there monitoring them, watching over them, because all the kids are in the service. And it's so I can't talk sometimes when I'm crying. And so then I see this mom come in during the liturgy, and the boys get funneled over by the grandma. And then I see like the youngest of the little boys during the Paschal hymn do the Theotokos, and he's just like happily singing the whole thing. And I see the mom looking over at him, and I'm just like, I mean, really, like, there's no, all of that to me is like, this isn't like a either or plug for Orthodoxy, but like, that's a big, like, that whole story is a big reason why I converted. Like, I want that for my kids. I want my grandkids doing that. Like, all of that I want, and I didn't think I could give that to them with Big Eva non-denominational stuff. I just didn't think I could give that to them that way. And it's I don't know. That's all. I can't. Yeah. But it's like, to me that is more, and it's also like, that to me is personalist incarnational theology, because it's God present through the people in my church. It's not a bunch of dumb ideas that you can just say and then not live. It's obviously lived. It's there. It is. It's undeniable. I don't know if you have anything to say, but I will bridge it. So like, we went like with a heavy crying thing, and now I'll go like angry, in some ways anti-Orthodox mode. So you talked about like that channel. What was it called? Patristic Clips, something like that.
Yeah, I forget the name of that.
Where there's like a lot of Stephen DeYoung's on it a lot, and it's like these 3 different Orthodox dudes that debate. It's like it's like the Christian YouTube version of Orthodoxy, where they're owning all the Protestant.
Yeah, it's specifically theology debates with whoever, Protestants,
right,
Catholics, whatever.
So like,
atheists.
I would propose that is they're using all the Protestant, it's all Orthodox language. They're owning Protestants, but in the spirit of Protestantism. I would say there's nothing about that's Orthodox. Because because it's all abstracted, objectivist ideas. That is not incarnational theology. This is why I say you can be right and be wrong, or be wrong and be right. I would say that people that do that sort of thing, with like, because you could see it, it's so subtle, and like these snide looks and like mocking and like that sort of thing is not incarnational theology. I don't care how many references you have and how many fathers you quote. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, that's even part of the like, when I was talking about like my evangelical faith only being so deep, and then Orthodoxy being able to like hit these other gears like that. But it's that kind of debate and stuff where like, if I make let's say I all of a sudden like, all right, I'm going to go be Orthodox based on that. Like, that's the wrong motivation to do that. Like, I can't be in that mode to decide these things. Like, it has to be
a fundamentally Protestant mode. It's like set against. It's like it's a not this thing.
Well, and yeah, like I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to choose rationally. I don't want to to be in this mode of what's the word? Deliberation. Like it seems like if you're in the mode of deliberation, then it's well, you're already kind of on the wrong. Like, I want to be drawn into something. If I'm going to, I want to be called. I want to be like it has to be bigger than just my own deliberation and my thinking and whatever. And so, like, you know, I and you know, if and I, you know, and I disparage my evangelical whatever, but like the church I'm a part of, like we have deep relationships here, and like what do I like it's our community, like it's all it's like we do everything together. Like there's all sorts of beautiful things that have happened. I could just tell stories and I'll be crying too. Of all the
don't try to
I'll outdo you, Luke. If you're gonna cry for 5 minutes, I'm gonna cry for 10.
We all know you're the king of crying.
The king of crying. How dare you try to upstage me, Luke?
No,
but like yeah. What do you know? So like fine. The if I got into a debate mode with, you know, the people in my church, you know, maybe they won't. I don't know. It's I mean, like I'm still in this trying to figure this out, because I ideally like our church would move towards like, I don't know if they become Orthodox or whatever, but they move towards that in some way that's less, you know, incorporates more of a Christian tradition that's been jettisoned, that doesn't follow the big box Eva model, but tries to do something incarnational and real, that I don't know. So
here's part of the struggle. So, and PVK gets this too. He's saying Big Eva has the tears that Luke does, but his liturgical point about continuity is a valid one. So like, even in your point, this is where I think, you know, you can be right and be wrong, or be wrong and be right. Like everything that I'm saying about liturgical continuance is real. Like that's a concern. But then the problem is like there's all these people that are moving toward orthodoxy for whatever reason. And again, how many, I don't know. But then like if you are driving like 30 minutes, an hour, there's some people that drive like 2 hours to go to an Orthodox parish because you don't have one locally or whatever. Like, is that it? And then you can't actively live the kinds of lives that you're saying, where you do everything together. You know each other really well. You can't live. So yes, you're going and you're experiencing that liturgy, which is great for all the reasons that I said. That's a beautiful thing. But then the problem is if you don't actually live there, just a sec.
Yeah.
I'm back. But the problem is like if you don't actually live there, you can't. I would argue that you can't actually practice, live, act as if, have an incarnational, fully fleshed out. Because like when they send you out, like the dismissal after the liturgy, it's like, okay, all these eternal realities that you experience, now go live out in your life. I mean, can you carry that with you 2 hours away? Sure, but not with the people that you just went to liturgy with.
Mm-hmm.
And then the kind of story that I told, where you have that kind of familial inheritance and stuff, to what degree can you do that? I don't know. This is why all these things are really, really difficult. And then it will also take you probably like 40 years of practice within Orthodoxy before it's actually in your bones versus just your head. So like, there are no easy answers.
Yeah.
This is why I like TLC and not the debate bros, conversionists, colonialists, or like the ortho bros that are like getting all these people just be like, yeah, Protestantism sucks. Okay. Okay, great. Good for you. Number also not good for you, because that's Protestant. And then what are people going to do though? People have to live.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know what the solution is for. I want. Yeah, I mean, there's a problem with sort of the arbitrariness of our liturgy in our services, and I don't know what necessarily to do about that. That's one problem. There's a problem with the yeah, I guess I'm like, I try to apply things personally into like, so this Easter and Easter season, like we kind of, that was the most me and my family paid attention to the calendar when Lent started, when was Holy Week. Me and my wife fasted during Holy Week. And then my wife prepared special meals for certain days, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was really meaningful. Like it was really, and I guess the question is like, how do I like, I want that to be part of like the bigger church experience that we have, because we do some of that stuff probably more than some churches. So we had like a Good Friday service, which, like, how many big box churches do a Good Friday service? Like, I don't know if any, maybe it's becoming more of a thing. But I don't know. We have Good Friday service, during Christmas, we always have Christmas Eve service. We have, but also like we do things that sort of, yeah, I guess like having more of a yearly of all these things. Like, I know Ascension's coming up. It would be cool to, when I come to church on that Sunday or for Pentecost Sunday, because Ascension's on Thursday, to be able to like have, something happen that would recognize those things. Like, at least so we could start moving in those directions, because those things are, those things are things my children will still participate in. I hope that they still will remember the resurrection and the ascension and these types of things. And whereas, maybe eventually we can get to some hymns or songs that we sing regularly rather than whatever's coming out of Hillsong or whatever cool worship music is out.
Yeah, that is something it's hard to get into, even like even the liturgical calendar. Part of it is I'm not very attuned to that kind of the calendar in general, but yeah, to your point of, it's nice when you, like, even if you don't attend all the services, it's nice that they're being talked about all the time, where it's just like, yeah, like And it acknowledges the religious nature of all this stuff, that we have forgotten largely in the modern West. It's like Christmas has just become like, oh, and we get a bunch of presents. But like, there are services, like there are nativity services. There's nativity fast.
Yeah, but then there's this other side to it where like you can also become passive to it because you're like, that church is handling all that. We'll go to the service and whatever, but like I don't actually like so maybe there is a benefit of having this sort of like I'm having to remember myself, me and my family. Like I was like looking up old tradition, like medieval traditions for Ascension Day. And one of the things they used to do was they would take icon of Christ and they would go up and there would be a hatch on the roof of the church and they would lift it up out of the hatch. And so I was like, we need a hatch on our roof. These are just very practical matters. We can get some men to build a hatch and we're going to like lift. We won't do an icon. We'll just do a cross. We'll like,
yeah.
And then we thought maybe for the youth group, for Ascension, we can divide up into teams. We can give each of the youth a picture of Jesus and they have to get it to the highest point of the church as fast as possible. Like, is that a fun youth group game event? Like that would be good.
That could be fun. Or maybe you could incorporate new technology and you could just take like, maybe not an icon because it seems sacrilegious, but like you could take something like an image of Christ, or someone could like draw Jesus on a drone and you just send that sucker up. just send it up and just let it go. Let it fly till it gets out of range.
Yeah. Just like it goes.
And it's like, where did Jesus go? I don't know.
Those little
like
little plastic Jesuses, the little squishy Jesuses that I don't know, like they're all over our church. I don't know. Anyway, someone bought like 50,000 of them and they show up everywhere, these little Jesuses. And just tie one of those to a drone and just
that reminds me of there's a great off of my favorite Tom Waits album, which is Mule Variations, which is excellent, but he has a song on there called Chocolate Jesus where it's just called like, got to have a chocolate Jesus, makes me feel warm inside. Got to have a chocolate Jesus. Yeah, it's so phenomenal. What I like, so this was a thought I had earlier, and I don't know, I'm probably not even okay. First off, admin stuff. I do want to remember my thought. Let me think about it first so I don't forget it. Got it. I probably don't want to do this too much longer. And do you want to open it up at all?
How much longer do you want to go? 0?
No, I would probably go another 15 to 30.
I'm good with that. We can open it up for 15 to 30.
Okay.
And if we invite you on, you have to cry at least a little bit, at least get teary-eyed.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. If you can't cry on command, number one, you're not going to get a part in the Shakespeare drama because you're not a good actor. Because you gotta.
No, we don't want acting. We want authenticity. That's why the crying is important. It signifies authenticity.
Yeah, but that's what great actors are. Is like when you believe that it's authentic. However, they got there.
It's too many. It's too self-referential.
Okay, I'm gonna put the thing out, and then I want to do. I feel like really doing the Mitch branding when I do it, and I go and post it, and then people can come in, and then, well, actually, before I do all this, so I don't forget the thing I was going to tell you about. In the same way, almost that people can abstractly like all the ideas of orthodoxy in a very Protestant way, which again, I'm not shitting on. That's what I did. If you're Protestant and you decide that orthodoxy is the best version for whatever reasons, either theological or liturgical or whatever, I mean, what are you going to do? Lie to yourself about that? Like, no matter what, you can't get away. Authority and conscience. That's another topic I want to talk about. Like, any true authority cannot deny conscience I think that's the most succinct, super condensed way to say it. And so, like, if you're going to submit to the Orthodox Church, like, you have to do that in a way that's genuine with your conscience. Or if you're going to stay a Protestant, like, you can't lie to yourself about it, or else things will come out sideways. But so, like, if you're going to go to a church an hour away with people that you can't really live life in outside of just that one day or that liturgy or whatever, it's almost the equivalent of like using TLC as your in real life community or church. Like, this is fine. If you want to do that, this is fine. And if you want to go there and practice and do all that, that's great. But then you also have to live your embodied life hopefully with whatever you are learning and gaining and growing here. Because otherwise this is completely fake.
Oh man.
You know? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I agree.
I'm going to put the thing out, play branding, pin it, and then I'll be back. Okay, here we go. Media assets. Let's go. Oh, I didn't even have this up. There I am. Look at.
Woo, 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 woo. The gas station franchise Racetrack just hit me with a promotion for a 1-cent holiday beverage. I got the Sprite Zero Sugar Winter Spiced Cranberry. It's got 0 sugar. It's got 0 almost everything. Has 55 milligrams of sodium, 5 calories just to prove it exists, but it's otherwise harmless. No caffeine, just a pleasant holiday fizzy flavor.
A genuine work of art, this is key, must mean many things. The truer it is, its art, the more things it will mean. It is there not so much to convey a meaning as, wait for the big verb, not so much to convey a meaning as to wake a meaning.
Waking meaning. Everyone's just backstage chilling. It's gonna get good. Hey, Ian. Uh-oh.
Hey, Jess.
Your connection's a little bit rough.
Seems like my internet's not very good.
We're gonna hear you. It's a little
good
delayed,
to
I
you?
think.
Can you see me? Hear me? Okay. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll just.
I've been waiting a long time for someone good enough to take me down.
Saffron, you even think about playing me again, I will riddle you with holes.
Everybody plays each other. That's all anybody ever does. We play parts.
You got all kinds of learning and you made me look the fool without trying, and yet here I am with a gun to your head. That's because I got people with me. People who trust each other, who do for each other, and ain't always looking for the advantage.
Promise me.
Chad, I have 2 voicemails on my phone that I've saved. I delete all my voicemails, but I have 2 voicemails on my phone, and they're both from you.
Oh,
That I have from like years ago.
what's up, guys?
You live eternally on my phone.
Me?
Chad,
Yeah, I have two voicemails on my phone that I've saved. I delete all my voicemails, otherwise the box gets full. But you're the 2 voicemails on my phone.
Me?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't even remember what they say anymore. I just keep them. They just say Chad on it, and I keep them.
That's really lovely.
So even if everyone forgets you, my phone will remember.
That's very good. I am eternally existing on a, so when they say the heat death of the universe, at least I'll still exist
on a SIM card somewhere.
On a SIM card somewhere. That sounds like a lyric.
It does.
I'll exist on a SIM card somewhere.
I heard that.
Yeah, the end of the music video is like some sort of tentacly hand, like grabbing the SIM card and then plugging it into a device. That's how the music video ends.
I love it, dude.
Chad, your vibes right now are immaculate. Just with that painting behind you, that lamp, that chair, your eyebrows looking gray.
It's very Dutch.
Oh, man.
Dutch.
I want to sit in your lap.
I'm English, I think.
Oh, it's very British.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, my last name is really weird because I think, like, I don't know, it's weird if you look at my last name and kind of where it goes, where its origins are. It's kind of a weird thing. I think about that sometimes. Like,
Albin?
yeah, it's, I think Albion was kind of like the first, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Anyways, I haven't looked.
Well, what does it
deeply into
mean?
Albion, I think, goes back to like one of the first tribes, I think, of the British, the Brits. I don't know. I haven't looked much. I'm usually talking out of my ass, so there is that.
Jess, where does your last name P come from?
I can trace it all the way to Scotland. There's a purveyance, and the name, like, I didn't know this till like a few years ago, which it seems like it should be obvious, but it means purveyor. So acquiring goods and services on behalf of a king or something.
Memory's the purveyor of reason. Memory's the purveyance of reason.
So I'm a purveyor,
sick, bro.
But so there's one generation of Calvinist Scottish purveyance that then moves to France for like 4 or 5 generations, and they live in a Protestant city because they're in France at that time. There's Catholic and Protestant cities, so they live in a Protestant city with these Huguenot Christians, and then the Huguenots basically get exiled from France. France is like, all of you guys have to leave, and so the purveyances moved to Ireland for 2 generations and then come to the United States.
They probably hung out with some of the Albans because we were in Ireland too. So,
listen,
yeah,
I'm Scotch-Irish, so I was a Scottish, but then in Ireland, Northern Ireland, at some point, Ulster Protestants.
Now I'm just an American, bro, and I love it. I love being American. I love the whole American thing. I don't know why Americans are so like, oh, like, I don't know. It's funny when I hear Christians talking about kind of like, the kingdom, and there's like this kind of like backhanded kind of like spitting on the whole Americanism thing. It's like, dude, come on, man. It's okay to have some national gratitude, like, really, seriously, can we just grow up and say that it's pretty damn cool to be an American?
Hell yeah. Because I'm proud to be an American, or at least I know I'm free. Did you hear how I opened up the stream, Chad? Did you hear that?
No.
I meowed the national anthem. Coincidence?
Dude, nice.
Coincidence?
I love it, dude. I love it. So back to this church talk that you guys did. We were at, there's a difference between, I think, well, we're going through some changes, right? I mean, like, the church that Ann and I were at would have been a great church to be at if we never had Carolyn. And I mean, because it was really nice. I mean, the people were really lovely. They were really kind of like, they liked that the kind of millennials were there because all their millennials had left. And so I was like, oh, cool, we got some millennials. They ain't got no kids, but they're millennials. But then we had Carolyn, and we realized that there was like very little place for Carolyn to kind of get some formation with other kids. That's a problem, dude. I mean, we didn't want to go to like, Omega. I know that we could have went to Omega and probably been completely inundated by young families, but there's also liturgy. I want some liturgy. I want some traditional liturgy, at least something that's... Carolyn, one moment. something that's like, stay out of there, honey. Good for a family that's, discovering that they're a family, discovering what it means to be a family. And so we let, especially like there was a point where I like stood up at one of the business meetings in church in front of the whole church. And I was like, we've been here for a few years and I really like to get to know you guys more. If you can help us, because we need help to get to know you guys, will you help us? And like nobody responded. And then when Anne had her back surgery a month or two ago or whatever, like one person showed up from that church one time, which was nice, but then nobody else did. Ethan Kahi came to our house and brought us a meal.
Who?
Which is Ethan Kahi. So he came to our house and brought us a meal, which is crazy. And then so we started, he's like, come check out our church. And so we went there. And I went there on this Sunday, and there was like 30 crying kids. Like they're like 3 years and younger. And that is wild, dude. It was awesome. We don't have an Orthodox church by us. And even if we did, I don't know. I don't know if Anne would go for it, but
what kind of church is it?
It's an Anglican church.
This is another like Orthodox flex that Orthodox will like to do sometimes. Is there's actually a book. When I was first starting going to the Orthodox Church, I was considering Anglicanism, and I mentioned that to the priest, and he's like, yeah, that's common. There's a book actually called The Anglican Road, which is where people who are Protestant, lower Protestant, become Anglican and then just become Orthodox. It's like a step.
Yeah, my Orthodox priest friend, he was evangelical with me. We were missionaries together, and then he became Anglican priest, and then he was just like, all right, and then now he's Orthodox priest.
It's unbelievably uncommon. Yeah.
But I'm already like shaped in an Orthodox type manner in some sense, because from my understanding of what the Orthodox kind of like status quo is, and the way that they like, nobody really speaks for the Orthodox, and there's all these kind of different like postures that different people have, and it's very much like, from my understanding, very much like a 12-step formation in a lot of ways. If you go into a 12-step community, it's very much like that. There's autonomy. Every group has its own autonomy, but they're all aimed at service is like the highest kind of thing, service to God and his kids. And so in a way, I'm not saying that but the 12 steps are Orthodox, but there's very similar, from what I've heard a lot of the Orthodox dudes talking about, very similar in formation. And so I'm not going to go Orthodox, bro. It just ain't going to happen.
That's fine. Listen, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Ian.
Fellas.
What up?
I don't know if I can cry. I feel like I before I can cry on the stream. But your story, Luke, was really powerful and obviously just salient to the point, to the conversation that you were having. I think so. Maybe I can offer an anecdote in lieu of tears. I'll try to say my story. My dad kind of got grossed out by church by trying to participate within it. And then we stopped going to church on Sundays. And so we have no shared liturgy. Like when you're talking about Easter, Jess, and your family, like Easter is the least celebrated holiday home. And that's an odd little fact, but I think, I'm sorry, is my internet really bad?
You're freezing, but we can hear you, and we're waving at Caroline.
Yeah, it's probably very confusing from you with bad internet.
It's Carolyn.
Carolyn. Sorry, Carolyn.
Sweet Carolyn. Ba, ba, ba. Am I gonna get dinged for that? Why
I
can't
have another friend with a daughter named Caroline.
Here's the thing. If YouTube is gonna not let me just like impromptu sing when lyrics and songs come into my head, how can I even be myself?
Dude, just don't do it with the Eagles. You'll be fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ian, you're back. Oh, you're
No, I'm back. I'm gonna try without videos.
Do it.
Yeah.
See if it helps. Okay, so the beautiful thing that I saw in your story, Luke, is like the idea that the Orthodox have created something that is that's like a tool. Like it is a liturgical structure or trellis, something to grow the life of Christ into people as they're growing in their own lives and as a community. And so there's this that's a really cool piece of technology. And then the Protestants have grown or developed a technology that's sort of like designed to inform. It's very personal. It's very propositional. You know, it hits on all of those categories very well. There's a lot of, you know, really intelligent, so to speak, sort of debater type people that like that. But then there's also like the people that try to live it out, and they live it out just fine. Like I brought up my grandma on a stream not too long ago. Like she has a lot of that, and I'm sure at her funeral we'll sing some of her favorite hymns and songs because she's like the pianist at the church. So that's very tied into who she is within the community. And so it just was occurring to me as you were sharing your story, like people are always mad at my dad and now me because I'm like doing, but like, oh, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. It's like, well, yeah, maybe I'm doing it wrong. But I don't necessarily think I'm doing it right. And then the implication of saying that somebody else is doing it wrong, like the Orthodox are doing it wrong because they kiss icons, or the Catholics pray too much to Mary and they're doing it wrong. It's like, I think it's like whatever works, man. You know, that was what I was getting from your story. It's like, wow, that seems like a really good thing, and it seems to work for you, Luke. And I'm so happy that you have something that works. You know.
I mean, I
can't with this baby.
Yeah, she's a cutie. She's a little cutie. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I'm sure in the deeper, like this is the power and also the deception of anecdotes is like they're true, but then if you just like, it's not like I could tell you weepy positive stories about experiences I've had in the Protestant church too. That's not like a proof text for Protestantism. It's just the broader liturgical, or the broader point is that I probably the biggest reasons I converted were I think it has theology.
Dude, if you guys want the best weepy stuff, just go find the documentary it's a 2018 documentary for Mr. Rogers. Put it on and soak it up, dude.
Yes.
I'm dead serious, dude. Like I watched that and I was like, you know, because I wasn't raised in a church, and the closest thing I had was Mr. Rogers. It's just a fact of the matter.
Was he Lutheran?
And no, I'm not anything right. I'm home.
Uh-oh.
There's a good book about Mr. Rogers by a guy who interviewed him. I think it's called "I'm Proud of You," and I remember reading that a long time ago. Mr. Rogers is like my mom's hero.
Okay, what's happening? I had to do something. What
Chad crashed. Let's see if he's come back. Ian was talking about the Mr. Rogers book. I'm Proud of You. I haven't read it or seen that documentary. But I love Mr. Rogers. Like his whole philosophy about TV and about it being like a holy space, and that he treated it with some with reverence, and like his whole attitude towards technology and stuff was something that I don't know, we could probably benefit from, because he had this idea of like yeah, go ahead, Ian.
I just wanted to say I had a thought during the conversation before you let people in, and I was like thinking about how a medium and content are different things. This is I just saw a McLuhan blurb about it, but it's like I think estuary is an example of a medium. I think Orthodox liturgy is an example of a medium, and content to me seems a little bit more along the lines of like a sermon, and you're trying to produce an outcome through content. It's like marketing or advertising, and it's not. I know it's not identical, but it's like you want to move people to change themselves to this thing, but the medium actually, is the message. The medium actually changes the way you're formed. It transforms you and it forms you in a way that information cannot. And so when Luke, I'm so glad you found something. I'm talking about the thing that forms you through participation with it. And so what you just said about Mr. Rogers being respectful of TV as something holy is like it was when you were talking about, can you commodify personalist knowing? No, but you can commodify the method of it, and you can sort of turn it into content. So like
should you?
You can show people glimpses, like even what we're doing right now. I don't know any of you guys, but I do a little bit, and so there is a way in which we are doing the VNA thing, but if we try to, I guess I don't know the differences, but like the medium of estuary, where we offer ourselves through conversation, is something that forms us, and there's a personal element to that, where I don't know, like TMZ is trying to get you to personally know the dirt on other people or something. Anyway, sorry, I gotta go, and my internet's bad. I'll be listening.
Thanks, Ian.
I'm curious about gifts. Like, are gifts a medium? Because that's the thing. The Rogers thing. I don't know if Rogers was like if that was like some sort of, if that was content. Like I think he was helping. I think when I look back, anyways. I know. Sorry, I was making this. I'm not trying to make your little thing a Mr. Rogers thing, but like I'm obsessed with it right now, dude. Because I watched my daughter doesn't really watch TV. We don't do it, but we tried this. She liked Mr. Rogers because she liked the music, and she instantly was drawn to it, which I thought was really interesting. And so I started like paying more attention, and like to me, it just doesn't seem like it was like content. Like there was something higher that he was aiming at. He was trying to help formation, help to form people who maybe wouldn't ever darken the doors of the church for whatever reason. And so yeah, it's kind of like I don't know, some sort of secular metagelical move there to try to influence people to be kind and respectful, and really the whole show seems to be about imagination. Like really, like the imagination is sacred. Carolyn is tired. I should probably get going too.
All right, I have a admin thing. I need to go, but Jess, if you want to keep it rolling for people that came on, Alan hasn't even talked.
No, I'll keep it going for Alan and Mitch, and then I gotta go too. I gotta work.
Okay, and I will listen, but I need
Thanks,
to go.
Luke.
Bye.
Goodbye. Meow meow.
Meow meow. Meow meow.
All right, Alan, you were up next.
Yeah, and all the people who spoke before me are bad people. Just, how dare they not deference let me speak? The thing I just wanted to talk about the reality of liturgies and these processes and how difficult it is to hold in your head. It's sort of the like I don't mean to beat up on atheists, but like the atheist, like if you need God to be a good person, like you're a bad person. And it's like the idea that you're just gonna hold all your propositions in your head and just act in line with that is insane. That you're just like alone and you don't have any reference or touch points and no ways of like communally, individually or communally acting things out. You're going through grief and it's like you can't just be like, well, that person's dead now, and they would want me to be happy now. So, okay, I've turned the knob from sad to happy, and I don't need to go through grief anymore. Logically, why would I need to act out these processes to get through the grief when I can just, like, propositionally understand that, this is a waste of time in my, why can't I just take a pill that changes my brain chemistry from sad to happy? And like there's value, there's something that's important that's being locked up in the processes, whether it's it could be anything. It'd be the grief process, it could be the church process. But right now, I guess the reason I want to bring that up is like I'm sort of in between right now. I'm like moved out of the city and sort of far away from my church, which is not an Eastern Orthodox church, but I can feel myself like the effect on me of not having the touch points of the things that were in my life before, and I can't go to Bible study, and it takes longer to get to church, and blah blah blah, and all those touch points, they do have an effect on you. You can't just be like, no. It's like, when you don't have Bible study, you don't have friends, you don't have those interactions. Like, there's going to be downstream consequences whether you like it or not. And so, just like making that explicit and talking about those things rather than just being like, well, it's all in my head and everything I need just lives inside my brain. And, instead of being, instead of feeling this way or instead of doing this, it's like my final point, and then I'll shut up, is like, okay, you believe that, it's all in my head and I just logically deduce this. It's like, go on a diet and try not eating a donut, okay? Like, you're just helpless. It's like everyone's had that moment of like, the donut is not making a propositional argument as to why you should eat it. In fact, you have all the propositional arguments of like, oh, I don't want to die. I don't, I want to be healthy, blah, blah, blah. And yet you're just like helplessly drawn to it like a freaking, a babe in the woods. You're just completely at the mercy of these external things. So this concept of like, oh, I just know what I should do and I'll do it.
Yeah, I think I was reading something about how one of the best ways to if you're really overweight, one of the best ways to lose weight is basically lose all your overweight friends and become friends with people that are really, really healthy and work out all the time. And you'll automatically just start acting like them. Like, it really is like, and it's one thing to know that and have that in your head and be like, oh, I kind of understand how it might be useful to have a community while grieving through this process. And it's another thing to actually have a community to help you through grieving. The experience of it is not, and knowing about it is not the same thing. It's Mitch.
What did Chad say about gifts?
Gifts?
Yeah.
He said, is a gift a medium?
Oh, I thought he said GIF, GIF.
A
That's
gift?
so funny. Yeah. I was like really interested and confused when I thought he said a GIF or a GIF.
I thought he said gift, but maybe he did say GIF.
Well, either way, I've been thinking about, is it GIF or GIF? What's the consensus on this call?
I say GIF.
Okay. with GIFs,
Yeah.
I've had this weird obsession with them lately. Like they have something to do, like emojis, or like react things in Discord or in Signal or in text. They have something to do with like a loss of self-control or something, or they're like anti-speech somehow, even though in theory, like there's a good argument to be made that they're like elevating speech and they're like expanding language. But something about it lately I've just like thought was really negative to use these things. But turns out this is a really off subject. Yeah, I've been busting Jason's chops more than anybody else. Almond Tree Jason, about everything that he posts in like Signal groups. I'm like, no. Memes are. Oh, Cal famously said, and I say famously because famously to myself. Cal famously said that memes are demonic, and that's never left me. And I was like, that just feels like the truest thing I've ever heard. So anyways, I didn't have anything meaningful to contribute, but thanks for that mishearing or correct hearing of Chad.
But if you watched our Ecclesiastes stream, you know that demons should be bound and then put in your service.
That's right.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I've been thinking about, because, and Yosef, I talked with you about who's that guy that has the popular channel about esoteric stuff.
Esoteric,
yeah,
Justin Sledge. Yeah.
Right. So he did a big lecture about how you should, just, hey, it's no big deal. You just use these guys to your service. I'm like, oh, that's a big no. But
yes, but he doesn't actually believe in these guys. So first, plug our Ecclesiastes. We'll have part 2 recording this week, so hopefully be coming out as soon as when Jess gets it out. But we're recording tomorrow. Since you mentioned it, on your gifts point, I could see they can expand speech, but like a lot of speech, if it becomes too cliche, right? Cliches kind of kill speech. So maybe there, where if you're not really using memes as memes, where they're like evolving, but they're just kind of becoming set and cliche, then you might like lose that expressivity. It might kill the speech. Because my one thought to tie your thing back in, I don't know. I did have something to say.
Do you lose respect for people that use them? Go ahead, yes.
I don't lose respect. I don't necessarily lose. I don't.
Did you lose respect for Almond Tree?
No,
I always
I don't have any respect for Jason. I was just gonna. It's too bad Chad left, because I just wanted to say to Chad that, like, yeah. So I put it in the comments too. So I just watched that documentary because it's free on YouTube right now. Everyone should watch it. It's awesome. It is fascinating because I never realized how much. Like, I didn't realize that he was like so involved in a lot of like the psychology research on childhood development and education, like Eric Erickson and like those guys. Like, he was in grad school, like in those labs, in that same environment, in the same school, in fact, with a lot of like the leading kind of developmental psychologists of his time. And he had done a little TV before, and then when he came back, like he combined them, and it's like, it's a fascinating thing. Because when you watch him, you don't know that. You don't realize how intellectually like shaped his approaches are. It is very, very personalist. It is very individual. It feels very natural. And that's part of like how he was integrating it. My other thing, and I brought up Mr. Rogers a couple weeks ago in comments on our stream, because I watched the documentary and I was thinking about how much Paul PBK is like Mr. Rogers, sort of. Like, it's an adult Mr. Rogers, but it's like, just like, they're both ministers. This is their church is like the new medium. They're trying to figure out how to use it. Not that they're not necessarily like evangelizing for Christianity explicitly, but like they're doing all of like very similar kind of ways of connecting. Obviously, Mr. Rogers is different because he was doing more storytelling, but he also had like randos conversations in a sense, where he like trying to introduce people like in different types of jobs and different types of walks of life to his audience in different ways. But I see a lot of kind of echoing, I'd say, of Mr. Rogers in PVK. It's just this like fascinating to me. Like, as like a whole topic, I was just like, I want to like think about that more, and like what that like. At the same time, like, Mr. Rogers really did like shape, like we talk about set and algo and like the power of like, a personality. It is really interesting that in some ways he worked really well in TV, and then kind of for the new generation, like they updated it to Daniel Tiger, which is like still a pretty good and compelling show, but it's nowhere. It's not the same because you're not developing this in the relationship with a person. It's like because of the animation, and you can talk about like why it's different and why they changed it. But like I'm my kid like never got into Mr. Rogers. I tried. She was into Daniel Tiger like when she was really little, and then like grew out of it really quickly. I think if she had been able to connect to Mr. Rogers, she would have stuck with him longer and like learned more. And like I feel kind of bad if, like that she didn't like have that experience. But he also like didn't shy away from like talking about really hard stuff with kids. That's the other thing the documentary really stresses is like he talked about the Vietnam War. He talked about, I mean, they even brought him out of retirement to like deal with 9/11, right? Like and he has like an episode on death. He has an episode on, you know,
And divorce.
like,
Famously spoiled Santa Claus.
Divorce. When kids started like doing crazy things like jumping off roof pretending to be Superman, like he had like an episode, like he had a whole week actually on like superheroes and what real superheroes are and like the limits of imagination, which is really interesting because like he was of course really big into imagination, right? So he's like towing this line about like, you know, what is safe versus dangerous imagination and like where that goes, which obviously like can be a much more adult conversation too, but just fascinating because like you could talk to 3-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 12-year-olds about this stuff. And he tried an adult show, which I don't remember because it was before I was old enough, but like he tried this for adults and it didn't work. So in some ways, like PBK might be like the adult version of this that actually did work, where Mr. Rogers couldn't figure out how to like re-gear for adults.
I want PBK to like sing a song at the beginning of every live stream and then like change his jacket and put on a sweater.
That's just branding, man.
Is that the brand?
That's a different form of branding. And putting, you know, he can put on his blue shirt instead of you know, 4S. Anyway, I gotta go. I gotta work. But
all right, thanks, Joseph.
I would love to pursue Mr. Rogers more. I know President Foxman 2 years ago like beat us all to this because he actually did have a clip about Mr. Rogers in the documentary, and connecting it to TLC a little bit. So he like way was ahead of the curve. But like if he or Chad like want to have this conversation, if they're listening to this or anyone else, like I think this would be a great topic for a stream at some point.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph. All right, Hezi, welcome. Thanks for joining us. It looks like the weather is beautiful. Driving around.
It is indeed beautiful weather as I drive through the hills of Judea.
Wow.
I hope everyone is doing well. Two thoughts that came to mind. One with Mitch and his gift / GIF, but also emojis. I'm a very big believer that is us reverting back to the caveman. You know, having old cave drawings on the wall, condensing complex thoughts into just an emoji. I think it's very problematic, and I think it affects our way. It affects the way we articulate, and it affects the way we really express ourselves. So it's I see it as being a problem. However, on a side note, just with regards to Mr. Rogers and what Yosef was talking about, first of all, I agree that I see Paul definitely as a Mr. Rogers figure. However, it reminded me of something else. The amount of like Yosef was saying, the depth he got into, the topics he brought up, and things we were exposing kids to today. You could never do that today, and it's a big problem. Like letting my kids watch shows, it's like Peppa Pig is horrible. Okay, this girl's completely out of control. She's calling her dad fat all the time. It's just nuts. It's crazy, and there's no real story.
Is this just because you keep kosher, Hezi?
Oh no. Oh. Al, you offended him, and now he's logged off. What are you doing, Alan?
Wow.
Goodness gracious.
You're getting controversial on that stream.
Perhaps. Well, I guess
Blue
the hills
goes
of
pretty
Judea
hard.
don't have the best cell coverage. I kind of wonder if the emojis in the and the memes is the equivalent of just making a face, and then like like someone says something. See, Alan, and you.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something like when I see them or when I use them, I feel like out of control, and this is all very subjective stuff, I guess, too. And I heard somebody say once that it wasn't a reputable person at all, but this person was saying emojis aren't masculine, and that really stuck to me for some reason. I don't remember anything else that guy said, but I was like, yeah, that's good. So I was like, who are the most masculine people in my life? And I was like, there's not like a lot of like, classically masculine people just running around in Europe. Maybe you didn't have them, but I was just like, let me see the text messages. I don't know, maybe my dad, he's older, different generation, kind of brusque guy. I was like, oh yeah, he's never used one. I was like, oh, maybe my brother, he's kind of like a, working man, does hard work, hard labor, kind of gruff. No, he never used one. I was like, and maybe that means nothing, but there's something about it. Like, I feel like, and it's like exclamation points. Or have you ever tried to like text somebody without exclamation points? Because it feels like that's like some softening agent that we introduce into our sentences when we're communicating with people. Or it all is kind of like rhetorical softening stuff. And now in like professional emails and stuff, you'll see emojis, and it's like, what's going on with this stuff?
Oh, the man, he comes to defend himself.
Just defend my memes.
The living emoji, Jason Schweitzer.
Yeah, that's the whole reason I created an Instagram account. I don't even have friends on there. It's just for memes.
Okay. An Instagram account is like the Godzilla of an emoji. It's like what happens when it falls into a vat of toxic waste and it grows up into an Instagram account.
Because it's just images.
It's just pure communicative refuse.
I like your
maximalist nonsense, deconstruction. Yeah. What's that quote from Altered States? Mumbo jumbo, Kabbalistic.
Yeah, yeah, I don't remember. I could look it up. Kabbalistic mumbo jumbo. He's back. Just cruising through the Holy Land.
The hills of Judea. Whistling. Wow.
I find that most memes are funnier when you take away the context for them. Maybe that's just a personal thing, but Cal and I have talked about that too. Like a lot of the stuff we send, it'll have something else around it, and then we'll crop it to where whatever someone said is not there, and then it's just kind of like this weird image, and then it's just kind of just in a vibe or an emotion that doesn't have words. I think that's what I find.
Yes,
that I enjoy about them.
Most of the time, I think that's right, Jason. That's kind of like the modern art of it, and that is effective, like on you. But most of the time, when we use a GIF or something, it's to be funny. It's like, what is this? Like, I've got to beat down. Oh, I've got to swift through this library now. Just so I have the perfect, thing for this. I just can't wait to, and then I can't wait to get your reaction to it. Your big crying emoji reaction to this GIF that I put. What's going on?
I don't know. It makes sense to me though. It's weird. It's like if you take like the memes or GIFs that have a joke, like an implicit joke in it or an implicit statement, I find less funny or like more. I don't want to say propaganda, like as a propaganda or something. But I kind of like the ones where like you don't even know what the joke is. Like you see it and you're like, I don't really know what's happening.
That's the Ecclesiastes in you.
Yeah, but it feels right. You're like something about this image feels right. Like all those images I've been sending of that monkey where it's just sitting there eating food, it's just like looking to the side. I'm like, it's for some reason so relatable.
It's a vibe because when you're processing what you're receiving from the planet, you're processing this chaos, this hevel, and all you have to do is respond to it with more vibe-like chaos. It's like Here, let me throw. I mean, this is kind of just the closest I can come to communicating what I feel in response to.
It's
all
the liturgy
this.
of Looney
Is
Tunes.
this-
This is a Looney Tunes vibe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a disembodied monkey,
Chat
decontextualized monkey.
Well, I think there's a difference between. Well, that's the question was gift with a T, and it was
No,
about.
clarification.
Yeah, it was about, well, I mean, I think it can relate to the meme or GIF or whatever, because
That's what I thought you said, but
yeah, gift. You know, like the question is are gifts the gifts that we share with each other, are they content or is it something different? Is it a different category? And then I know that sometimes the memes that I share or the gifts that I share, they're often in response to something else, and it's an inside joke. It's a connection that I do share with somebody, and so that can be meaningful, I think. And I think that it's not merely content, and and so I don't, like, so the thing about and then I never thought about this until you guys were just talking about this, but like, I don't think I've ever been moved to meaningful tears by a meme or a GIF or something. And that would be a very powerful thing, I think, if that actually happened. And I'm about as sensitive as Jess is, only I think I'm a little darker. So I don't know. Unlike the hue by which I'm moved into tears is a little bit of a darker shade than I think Jess is, I think. But yeah, I've never been moved to tears by a meme. That would be fucking awesome, though.
This seems like
But probably you found one
we could
that you were
start.
like, yeah, probably you found one that you were like, oh wow, that finally something that kind of encapsulates like that. This one gets me. Probably something like that.
Jess?
Well, I think this is a area of meme research that needs to be developed and explored.
Well, they're not usually intended to be sad, right?
I
Or
take
even
this
meaningful.
back, dude.
Did
I'm
you
sorry.
cry? There's a meme that made you cry.
Yeah.
What was it?
No, this is tricky, but
Are you going to cry?
no. But if I watch the Grim Grizz show on the right day and he plays the Rejoice song, that will do it. And that'll hit me just right, because like it's like there's a lot of meaning in that song. It's not, I mean, and it's weird because part of that's a very it's a very complicated, very deep thing, because some days it's a meme. Other days it seems to be much more than a meme. It's also a moment that we as a community have shared. It's also something that kind of it can have a snarky kind of
Sarcastic
thing to it. But like, and I was talking with Neil the other day. I said, if you like had to, like, if you went in 100 years from now and they wanted to like chart out the music charts for that actual meme, that actual performance, you would have to like chart in the parts where somebody starts singing early and they're not supposed to. Like, what would that look like on a chart? And then you'd have to like write in like, oh, I love that whole Matthew Parletto, where Matthew Parletto says, love that. It's so fucking hilarious to me. But like, you'd have to chart that in. You'd write that in the actual chart of the music. Like, and so it's what is this? Because that is a meme, but that's the only meme that I'm aware of that's ever actually hit me kind of on all the levels. So is that the meme of memes? Is that, or am I overthinking it?
I want to talk maybe a little bit about the idea of like a meme's quality or being defended by the fact that it could produce that kind of emotion in you. It makes me think of a conversation I've been having in my head about the value of public school versus homeschool. And I can't assess my public school experience in any kind of objective way whatsoever, because Like you see all of the negative elements of it, and you see all the nostalgic elements of it, and the transcendent parts of it, and the brutal parts of it, and you're just like, I can't, based on my emotional response to it, kind of, it's like I can't condemn it because of my emotional response that I have to it, or you know what I'm saying? If this is making any sense, like the net or negative or net positive of memes or GIFs probably has to go a different route of assessment.
So, okay. So the highest memes are gifts that we share with each other. That's what I was trying to get at. Because when we were talking about, like, when I think about this stuff, I think about the Grim Grizz show. To me is that's kind of the prime example of a community that is truly secular, because I think secular and probably like the classical definition, kind of ecumenical, all this kind of stuff. We talk about this guy Grizz, goes through all these different topics, but then he encouraged, and I think in an indirect way, that you guys should like make some stuff, create art, and then share it with each other. And that's what happened. And and I think like, and there's all sorts of, and there's no like tight constraints given on that. And the constraints that did develop, they developed basically naturally, intuitively, and like out of respect and care, and like, and I think it actually developed out of like a friendly competition. It also developed out of all these different kinds of like relational qualities that, and then like it was this aspect of show and tell, and I think that's where it goes from meme to gift to historical record to all these different kinds of weird things. And it's kind of like sometimes they get down to some other deep, they can kind of like be multi complex. Like they can be very complex. It can be talking about something like uh I don't know, life or death or anything in between. So it has all these different kinds of things that it's hitting on. And I'm probably embarrassing myself by talking about this stuff like this, but that there's a reason why I think people like to play with that stuff a lot. And I think that now I ran out of gas. So what do you have to say, Almond Tree, Mr. J Song?
Well, I'm just thinking about what you said, and it being like a gift and like kind of a shared experience. Because I was thinking, even when it comes to memes and sending memes or just sending photos or just whatever, just images, any of that stuff, they do kind of weirdly become funnier once someone else laughs at it for me. Like if I send one to Cal, it might not even be that funny to me until I know he laughs at it, and then all of a sudden it's funnier. And it's probably because we have this weird sort of like unspoken joke or something shared between us that makes it a little bit, yeah, kind of like that gift or something, like a gift in secret or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. That's where my mind was going when you were talking about gifts and just sharing and relating it to gifts. But I mean, that's why I send Mitch some too, because I know he'll get mad at him, and then I think it's funnier when he gets mad at him.
But have something higher to share. You know, if you have this, we're condoning this thing because we have something. We're condoning this thing because we have something that we can share that gives us this inside joke, but that doesn't make the thing itself good. Like because you could have something, just because you find something good in something bad doesn't make the thing itself good.
We all got together around a Pizza Hut pizza. It doesn't make the Pizza Hut pizza any good, but it did bring us together.
That's a good idea. That's a great, absolutely.
Oh, guys.
Here he is. Defend the memes.
All right, Cal, we're ready.
Hi, Jess. Hi, Mitch. Hi, Jason. Hi, Chad. Hi, viewers.
Hi, Cal.
Make me your disciple.
Teach me.
Cal is the first person I ever saw on the internet where I was like, "Holy shit! Look at the size of his hands, dude." Because he was always like this. His head was way back there, and his hands were up here. And I was like, "Dude, why are your hands so fucking big, bro?"
How come I'm hearing like a feedback or an echo?
I don't
Do you
know.
guys hear it too?
No.
I don't have an echo.
Or is it just
Close out the other window.
Yeah, Chad just grabs the camera. He just
Hezzy,
tries
you're
to hold
back and driving through the hills of
I've been
Palestine. Or what?
I think I'm better now.
That's now a meme.
Did you guys just make a political joke at Hezzy's expense? Did I miss that?
No, it was an accident that I laughed at because I can't help but laugh at dumb shit.
I see. Well, was I supposed to defend memes or something? You know, I like the hands comment because it reminds me of one of those like Weimaraners, like from Sesame Street, where like the Weimaraner head and like the big old hands that like kind of just don't know what they're doing almost, or they do, but like the head doesn't know what the hands are doing almost. Yeah, that's me. And my hands are not that big. I can pretty much almost palm a basketball. I just need like, you know, like I can't do it instantly or easily. I have to like stretch my hand to palm a basketball. But anyway, so memes, you know, what I think about when I think about the funniness of memes is how exorcists say that one of the problems when dealing with demons is that they're really funny. They're really, really creative and really funny. And I feel like the memes is the edge of the world, so to speak. Or like Terence McKenna said, the edge of being is the edge of meaning. And there's something there where they're coming out from the periphery or like the liminal spaces, and they're creating new meanings. And you know, Jordan Peterson would have said something like, it's in a certain way, it's like the aqua vitae, or it's the question that you know, is going to bring into being some new truth. Is you're questioning something like, what is the Satan? He said, is it that Job only serves you because you're good to him? And so then when he asks the question, it's going to bring a new truth or reality into being. And it's a little bit like Green Knight, what Jason says, like, how else should it be? In the sense of like, it's difficult to conceive of a different order than this. That there would be noise or chaos on the fringes. That would be sort of the foam or the scurf of truth. And for a limited being such as myself, yeah. But at the same time, does Jesus make memes? Does he laugh at memes? Does he laugh at memes with me? Some of them, or he laughs at some aspect of what I find funny. But really, the king's laughter rings out most clearly when he brings back that lost sheep. That's when you hear him laugh. That's what his laughter is attuned to. It's a joy, an expression of fundamentally of joy. And so, yeah, it's to a certain extent, it's participating in like a fallenness, but at the same time, it's like you're not other than what you are. But it's not that you shouldn't aspire to be better. But it's not that you can't help but find it funny because, you know, the temptation, whatever just enters in, is not sinful. The world calls it sinful because they say if you have a thought, it's your thought because who else is thinking it? And Christians will say it's not your thought because did you choose to think it? And you know, but really, the world sees temptation as culpable, something over which you ought to feel guilt. But Christianity doesn't. So if you would find the meme funny, it's not sin in it. Some memes are pretty tame. Other memes express something important. So I don't know. I mean, I think, yeah, I don't know. I'm of two minds.
Hezzy, I feel like if you can hear us, you got something to add.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so something about the meme and something that Jason said about not sure how funny it is, but then when Cal laughs, he then thinks it's funny. So, and this is also related to what Chad was saying about it being a gift, at least in the context of the way Chad was talking about it, which is, I think what's interesting about a meme or about these pictures or about these emojis that land, it reaffirms to us in some sense that I could understand the other without using my words, but there's a deep resonance there, right? So if I threw out something that I wasn't even sure it was kind of funny, I was playing around with it in my mind, and then it lands, and Cal, in this case, what Jason was saying, understands why that's funny. That is a very deep connection. It relates a little to like enchantment theory. That is a very deep bond that you're building with someone. So I think if it lands well, that's something that we obviously appreciate. And just on the idea of humor, in Hebrew, laughter is called tzchok, right? Like Isaac is called Isaac in Hebrew, it's yitzchak, right? I laughed. So if you break down that word tzchok, it also is tzechok, which means the rule, the law, the framing needs to leave. And in the Talmud, it talks about how when rabbis would learn, when they would get to sort of the edge of their intellectual capabilities, they would stop and make some jokes. And the idea is that allows you, like going back to tzechok, like escape from the frame, that allows you to break down the paradigm and move into a new level. So humor itself, again, used in a meme, also allows you to perhaps go to places where you couldn't go with just using regular language, and allowing everyone to share in that aha moment, I understand what you did there. That then all allows us to go back and start verbalizing ourselves and articulating ourselves, but we needed that break moment to get to that next stage.
This is awesome. If it were a break moment.
What do you mean?
Go ahead.
What's not?
Go ahead, Chad.
I find it fascinating because I think, just to think about does Jesus make memes and laugh at them? To me, this is kind of like the whole turning water to wine is like a meme. It's like a joke, but because he can't help but to actualize the joke into something true, so he takes the water and turns it into wine. They turn the loaves of fishes to feed the 5,000. It's a matter of quality, not quantity. And it's like this. It's like this meme. It's actually like actualizing the meme, like this ridiculous thing. And then or walk on water, right? To walk on water, like Peter, come out here and walk on. It's like, dude, come on, that's a meme. Like you're joking, right? It's like, no,
it would have been a joke had he not actualized it. And when he actualizes it, it's something else. It's like a transcendence. That's very interesting.
Yeah, so that's kind of what come to mind when I was thinking about this.
It reminds me also a lot of when they saw experiencing, and even if you think of Nehushtan, the copper serpent, right? That itself is a meme as well, being lifted, right? As we know, like it's not miraculous just by looking at it, but by looking at it and understanding it, that allows for a transformation with the people that are participating in that meme.
It would be good if it was exactly what Hezi was saying, and it was the break, but it's actually like the coin of the realm. It's become like the main dialogue that happens. It's like everything now is just giving yourself over to the chaos and taking it for granted. And like, this is the thing. It's staying with all this vanity and not going to the fear of the Lord and keep its commandments part. If it was like, oh, we've come to the end of our reason, ha, 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 now let's get back to work, giving kind of deference to that idea and then getting back to work, then that's a good thing. I love the way Hezi explained that.
Well, I mean, I don't imagine Mitch is making a case against wholesome memes, which I think Mitch would acknowledge do seem to exist, which also says something about the nature of humor and how it's not inherently transgressive somehow. It can violate expectations in a genuinely creative and insightful way without being sort of dirty or transgressive or edgy or anything like that, which is interesting. But this is what when I think about the memes that I'm not sure Jesus would laugh at. It's kind of what I think about them in terms of anything they might have in terms of a redemptive quality is like Jordan Peterson, like, you got to give the devil his due, eh? It's like, if the devil says something right, Jesus doesn't just deny it because the devil happened to say it. He hears it and he knows it. Or in my case, I didn't know it. So if he says, well, this is interesting, because just because the devil says something is true doesn't mean you should lean into it. Sometimes I have the wisdom to see a meme and I see that even though it's false, if I sort of take out the negation, I can see something that is true that I didn't see before, and it's necessary. For example, for whatever reason, I've just not been able to take my eyes away from like what you would call manosphere content and like these kind of incredibly toxic internet mediated gender wars. And one person who I find is like almost necessary listening is Pearl Davis, because she's like the betrayer of the sisterhood and she is the Satan. She is bringing the accusations. That's what she does. Everything she says is going to be an accusation. She's like a prosecuting attorney. But like once you know that they're a prosecuting attorney, you can listen for like the sort of the truths in there that at least you didn't know, without necessarily losing your objectivity, because you understand that everything this person says is biased. And also in some way you can't expose yourself for too long. I think you would just more so need to have the attitude that enough of it will find you, or what you need to see will find you, because you don't really know the truth by studying the false. You study the truth, and then that's the only way you can reliably detect falsehood. Like people who who detect counterfeit money, they don't do it by studying every different counterfeit that they come across. They do it by just handling the genuine article, and then you can detect a kind of open-ended set of potentially infinite different possible counterfeits.
So what if you're like, what if your ideology is born out of like meme, basically?
Meme. That's bad. That's the Satan.
Right. I was thinking, because you mentioned Pearl.
That's how it used to be.
I remember Pearl Davis, when she came out, like she started by kind of like Peterson pilling her like feminist friends with a Newman interview, and that was like that was like 3 years ago now. It was interesting to watch that, right? But like now when I think about kind of like the manosphere content or like basically anything culture war, it's just so exhausting and ridiculously dumb, and it's born out of like it's like this weird swirling of ideology and meme that are kind of like feeding each other, and it's like this really stupid thing, because like deep down I think anybody who's paying attention to themselves in an honest way will think there's no way I can fucking live like this. I can't live by this ideology or this memeology. Like I can't live by this. I'll be dead like and alone in like a year. You just can't do it. And so you have to kind of like, I think it can be useful.
It can only speak to somebody that has abandoned hope or the pursuit of some objective purpose.
It must be baptized somewhere, so it has to be to go into like a new, like a higher, more real, and that would mean it must require some of its integration or like living with its opposite. You know what I mean?
Totally. Because I mean, like, I like to judge rightly. I like to rule correctly. sort of in the intellectual court of my mind. Because I don't want to, even if I'm disagreeing with the truth, I don't want to be doing so on the wrong basis. Sorry, if I'm disagreeing with a lie, I don't want to be disagreeing with it for the wrong reason. I want to still be able to see what might be true in it. Man, there was something else I was going to say, and I just can't remember, but it's okay.
Well, it's about meme sobriety. And look, if you're always going to connect with the hopelessness that's there,
really
to the extent that you're intellectually honest, you are going to experience some level of hopelessness that will be overcome ultimately by hope. You're going to experience some level of just entropy in your brain, and you're going to connect with that when you see a lot of these memes. And so there's nothing quite wrong with that.
So, wait, Mitch, can you, when you were saying this, so you're saying in memes people connect with the hopelessness because it's kind of just absurdity?
Yeah. Because the
No, that's
intellectually
right.
honest person is always going to arrive at absurdity, unless they're deferring to an ultimate perspective that's beyond them. And so to the extent that you're intellectually honest, you will connect with the memes.
So the memes, the intellectually honest, I guess when you submit your intellect to the memes, it's kind of a nihilism, not necessarily a transcendence. Is that what you're getting at? Because there is a way with God.
Your primary language, yeah.
Because I do think if there is a God that's infinite, it's kind of like worshiping nonsensical things. You know what I mean? Like it gets to this point where it's all just,
from the limited perspective.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
the devil says.
You have to always keep in mind that there's some revelation. There's a revelation of order that we have to kind of believe in, that have to have faith in, that is beyond our capacity. And
if it weren't that vertigo, if it weren't that infinite otherness, you could not be saved from yourself. And even that is such an impersonal way of putting it. But it's true that in as much as God is utterly beyond your ability to conceive of him, there can be an aspect of the walk that is sort of fatiguing is too mild a word. You can get very dry in the sense of he's just so always infinitely beyond you. Or he's just so always infinitely more here than here, interior intimo meo, that it's like it ceases to lose meaning to you, like a sort of semantic satiation. When I repeat the word "the" so many times that I begin to be stupefied at the mere fact of its existence. What a contingency. I now see through the superficial layer of familiarity, and I see how wildly improbable this string of letters and this digraph and this sequence of sounds is. Is that really our definite article? How funny. Do we even have definite articles? We need them. Interesting. What does it do? What does it mean? So with God, it can be a lot of that, especially when you're just like praying, and it's like, who are you? I lose focus. Who are you? That I think the main thing is just to kind of realize, might be getting off topic, but the unitive power of prayer to God, even if you don't feel it, especially if you don't feel it, is infinitely greater than the separative power of sin. All devil can do is get you to not pray. The sinning is not going to be what gets you, because you were never going to be saved by yourself anyway. The prayer is what's going to save you. All he can do is get you to stop praying.
That's participating in something that's less resonant to your plausibility mechanism. The prayer is
totally. The plausibility mechanism of the flesh does not get it.
Yes, and the plausibility mechanism, it connects with the meme, but you're choosing to have faith in this,
to walk by faith and not by sight. Yeah.
Well,
yes, exactly.
Something I might be derailing what you guys are talking about a little bit. I'm thinking about the meme thing too, and why Mitch has such a kind of a knee-jerk reaction to it. Sometimes, maybe not all the time. I'm projecting on you, but it made me think about that movie Annihilation, Where like, do you see like the world of memes kind of as a world of annihilation?
Totally.
Yeah, I
The
kind of see that,
promiscuity of the intermixing.
yeah, but there's a weird, maybe it is evil. I don't know. There's something about it where I still kind of want to defend it, and I think it is. It probably just goes back to the gifts thing, where it just feels like some of those things hit on a personal, on a personal connection. Like
we are limited beings. You know, everything we see is like of God, but in a finite and defined, or in a way defective way. But sometimes in that kind of almost like demonic creativity, it's like the most that we can presently discern at this time from this perspective of God's own creativity. That's the note of truth in it. Because you know, like even like a song. Oh, sorry, Chad, go.
Well, I was just thinking about creativity. So I recently was participating in this little zine thing where we're writing these stories, and the story that I wrote, I think, has some pretty dark stuff in it, right? And it's not dark overall, but I think there are aspects of it that are really dark, you know. And I think that the continual, if I wasn't like continually trying to make expressions of willingness through prayer and stuff like that, I could easily fall into like be sucked into my own little BS as it relates to like this creativity, this kind of like the creativity of, you know, creating dark things, I guess. But because I think I'm willing um, to submit to a willingness of participation, like being willing to participate through prayer. I don't care what the prayer is. I don't care what it is. Whatever you think is, I think sometimes it's going to boil down to maybe it's just I don't know, whatever the thing is, but willingness to submit to God higher. Now, as you said, it's like indefinable, or it's not entirely graspable or whatever. He isn't, but there's that, you know. And so I think, you know, like this is, and I wonder like what I'd be like, what it would be like for me to, like, let's say, you know, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, to encounter like a book like The Passenger by Cormac McCarthy versus like where I'm at now. When I read that book now, I think it's deeply beautiful. It is dark. There are things about it that are weird, but like even my interaction with McCarthy's work throughout the years, it's been like I can only read it once, and then I got to step away for like, you know, a couple months and just go read something else or listen to other stuff because I can get sucked into a particular kind
You
of
feel though that when you're watching stuff like that, I agree, but it's like when you're watching stuff like that and you're watching it with Jesus, then what stands out as beautiful and true are sort of the things which Christ himself detects as these sort of broken fragments of an ideal order, and one which he is going to restore. But so that's sort of the pattern or template according to which you sense the meaning and the beauty and what stands out amid what is otherwise tonally very dark and nihilistic.
But I also don't believe in nihilism. I think it's a lie. I think it's one of the greatest lies ever told.
Absolutely, yes.
It doesn't make any sense because how can I encounter something that is kind of like dark and still be
the fool has
really
said in his heart
moved.
there is no God.
Yeah,
it's the spirit of folly. That's the spirit of atheism, and I had that spirit. And it's because no, it's like you won't believe because you won't obey, and you won't obey because you don't believe, but you also don't believe because you haven't obeyed or trusted yet. And when all you don't know the God because you're in a condition of sort of original alienation or estrangement. All you know of him, maybe you have seen in sin. You won't turn away from that idol. You would prefer to shut your ears and your eyes to the truth in preference to that idol, because the idol is all you know. But it's a spirit of folly that It's coming from that decision of the heart that the heart made. And partly it made it in ignorance, and partly it's culpable for it. You know, that's a thing I wanted to get into yesterday with Buzadil, talking about, can you freely consent to God? You know, that's a wonderful question, because in order for there to be the sort of necessary interplay between freedom and necessity, the way it seems to me things have to be, and I always have to give credit to Chris Langan for this, for helping me to see this, but that the present moment is genuinely open, genuinely free, insofar as you can even clock it or measure it, which you can't measure it, only as what it's not, namely the past. But, you know, to the extent that it has any kind of intelligibility, it is open and free. But it's also the kind of superposition that if it collapses, when it collapses, when it collapses, if it collapses, will be seen in retrospect never to have been a superposition. There needs to be the element of necessitation, but it is always retrospective. Phenomena have to be determined, but they're only ever determined in hindsight. So there is both freedom in the moment and determinacy retrospectively. And so that is the resolution of the paradox, because here are two truths that are true at one time. Number one, God is objectively correct in all of his judgments, which means that if the Satan opposed him, it means that on some fundamental level, there is some objective feature of reality with which the Satan is not in touch. There is something God knows that he does not. And so in that sense, it seems like invincible ignorance. How is he culpable? And yet, we are created for nothing other than relationship with God. That's the very air and life that we breathe. Jesus says, this is the life, knowing the Father and knowing the Son. And if there were no it's how to put it, if every time I slipped up, you said, well, that is because you are invincibly ignorant, you are a child, you have no agency, then what possibility could there be of a relationship between the Holy One and myself? So the edge of being is the edge of meaning. In the present, there is a freedom for which you must be culpable, but not because he's going to judge you, but because if you don't do what you know is right, you're going to judge yourself. This sort of business.
I got to get running, but Cal, I really want to connect with you, maybe offline or something. I'd love to talk with you about some of this stuff. So I'll have to.
Well, that sounds really cool. You know, every time we tried to talk in the past, it was bedeviled by problems. But I'm always open to talk to you. I think you even have my number.
Just send him some memes.
All right, guys. Good to see you. Jake, looks like Jacob's today. I got to roll. Later.
Yeah, I have to shut this down here in a minute. So last words. I know, Jacob, you just got here, but
what a party pooper.
I mean, I guess I could leave it running in the background if you really want to keep it going. I see that, Jacob, you started streaming it. And...
No, it's okay. We all need to work.
Can't hear you.
Except me. I'm independently wealthy.
Jacob's muted, and now he's waving goodbye.
By Yaakov, heel grasper. By Yaakov's dog.
Jacob's not even saying anything.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yes, sir.
I see. Okay. So I said I can start a stream if people want to talk, but I just came to say hi.
Hey, Jacob.
Hi.
Hello. Shalom.
Good to see you.
And at least some of you I'm going to see at the wedding soon. Mm-hmm.
I'll be there. Parlato.
The Texas?
Yeah.
No, I think it's in Atlanta or somewhere around
Atlanta?
Yeah, yo no sabía nada sobre ninguna boda.
Una boda, yeah. Is Mitch from Atlanta?
Yes.
So he's got to come to the wedding.
I don't know if he will. I told him he could be my +1. I'm crashing with him that weekend. Otherwise, I'd crash with you. But I had already made plans to stop by his place. So yeah, but I don't know if he's coming. I'll try to get him to.
Well,
there's one thing I know about Jacob is if there's a wedding, Jacob's going to it.
If somebody cares enough to invite me to a life event, I try very, very hard to go.
I love that.
Because
that's honest.
Yeah.
That's like, from the heart. That's truth.
Like if somebody is like, hey, I want you at my wedding, it's like, whoa, this person wants me at their wedding. Yeah. That's a compliment.
Jesus told me ideas are not true, people are true. And that people are true when they put themselves at the disposal of the other. And so it's like what you're doing when it's like you're living from the heart, in the sense of the dominant factor here is that they asked me. Like, therefore I'm going to go. Mm-hmm. And I think you're being like a true person when you do that.
Well, I am quite like Jesus.
Perhaps more than you know.
Perhaps more than you know.
If I turn any of the water into wine, you'll know that I am the Savior. Yeah.
All right, guys.
That was a good last word.
Is that a good way to end it?
Yep.
Yes, sir. All right.
I love all of you.
I love you too.
Vayan con Dios, hombreros. Hasta la pasta.
That's Mexican, not Spanish. Don't get confused.